Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, you are watching Off the Track, and it is time to drop the hammer.
Well, I think this makes more sense now. Why people just like you just start talking because it's like there's not you don't have to even really welcome people in.
No, there's nothing to welcome. It's just
you're not even looking at a camera or anything.
I mean, I think it'd be funny to mention like this feels weird. It feels weird but cool. Like
honestly, since we are recording, maybe we'll just make this.
That's what I would do.
All right. So, welcome back to Off the Track, episode number 27.
27. I thought it was
27. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
27. My bad.
Or let me check.
I thought it was 28. See, the thing is. We've been off and on with this, and we're looking for a solution. We love going in the studio. We love making videos for y'all. But I think this is going to be the new look of 2022 audio-only podcasts.
Yeah, 27.
27. And the reason we're going to do this is because it's going to give us so much more opportunity to talk about stuff.
Yeah.
And, I'm kind of smiling, laughing here because it feels so weird to be in a place that's not where we normally shoot to be, doing this. But it just feels like so much easier to talk, and it's going to allow us to do so much more with the podcast, which means, upload possibly weekly, hopefully weekly.
Yeah, no, this is jumping kind of straight into it. We're back, we're starting 2022, and as Bennett mentioned, we have been talking a lot on like how we can get this podcast going and, what we should do and should we try to keep the videos coming? We literally went down every route. We obviously started Off the Track 1 year ago, almost pretty much maybe to this day. We're even shooting a little bit about 365 days ago. And then we uploaded our first episode and things were rolling really good at the beginning of the year. We had a lot of time on our hands. I would say you had just quit your job, right?
Yeah.
Or close.
It was like I was able to quit and then go full-time race.
You were also putting a lot of you were spending a lot of time, or you were putting a lot of effort in to come up here for the podcast as well.
Right. Yeah. I would come up. Well, what was cool is, I don't think a lot of people realize I would stay up here for probably weeks on end. Last year, I think
you lived up here for
at
least over a quarter of the year.
Right. And so it was unique. It was different. It's kind of like, when you always dream about, this is the dream, going out racing every day, spending days in the shop, and just making content. That's what we did. And it's pretty cool to see this is where the podcast has kind of evolved to. And if you asked me last year if this is where it'd be, I would say no. Because, the studio, I think we both can agree, is one of my favorite rooms.
Absolutely.
Like, it's so cool the way it is. So we don't want to can the studio. So if this is saying anything, when we can, we will shoot in the studio, but we're going to stick with audio only right now because we want to give you guys the content. And I know Tanner and I, this is one of our most favorite forms of content right here.
Yeah, no, it absolutely isn't. I think both of us, we're kind of people that like to jump in with both feet. Like, if we're going to do something, we want to do it. And I think one thing that was kind of getting at both of us was we were putting our best foot forward, but the podcast just wasn't working because once we started racing a lot, one, it takes a significant amount of time to edit the podcast, schedule people, when we're trying to bring in guests. And there's a lot that just goes into doing a show, you could say, because I think it's more of a show than a podcast, at least with the video. Right. With the video. With this, it's obviously, this is kind of what it's about, just audio.
Right.
But it took a lot for both of us, and we were both at the same time trying to shoot videos and just do other things. We have a lot of priorities in both of our lives that are different. And so this kind of just got kicked to the curb, which made me really sad. And so I feel like last year was kind of a trial. We tested some stuff and we did some things really well. But I think we now have figured out maybe the direction to where this can be sustainable and we can be consistent and put out a lot of content. So that's kind of a little bit of an explanation because we did really good all the way up until, I think, July.
Well, and we had great intentions because if you remember, we may have mentioned this before in those other podcast episodes, but we brought all this gear with us across the United States twice. And
it just
we
never
had
worked.
time. I mean, even when you think you have downtime racing, there's not because you're going through every little thing, which is, that's just what we love to do. So I'm happy and I'm excited. This is going to be the new face and it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's really comfortable. I think, also with the podcast, we're we're going to just try to change it up. You know, we would like to interview guests, but I think we're going to be really intentional about what guests we bring on and ones that can really add value to you guys listening. Ones that we also enjoy, because there's certain people you don't hear much about them, and they have unique stories, and we want to bring them on. But obviously there's a lot of racing shows that talk to drivers, and I think like if you want to hear that, there's a lot of other people that do that, and we kind of have just more our outlook on the sport and our experiences. I mean, shoot, 2021, the pages we could have wrote of experiences and laughs and things, and we got to share some of that in some of those episodes when we did get to shoot. So I feel like kind of moving forward this year, this is going to be a fun look. And as Bennett mentioned, we're going to be able, because it's so easy, you know, to literally hit this record button. We could be rolling down. This is legit where, you know, we brought that stuff to the Midwest. We could be rolling down the road in the RV and hit record on our little deal we got here and then post it within, you know, 10, 12 minutes. It's not hard. Yeah. So I think that this will be something where we can get the content out quick. And I know it's just, you know, just an audio version, but man, yeah, like Bennett said, I'm pretty pumped.
I think, you know, if we do any traveling that requires overnight travel this year, I think it'd be kind of funny to set this up in a gas station like we do when we try to upload stuff.
I agree.
And we just shoot the podcast there, shoot it in just, you know, if we're able to get power, I think it'd be cool to almost do, if we do like a 2-day show at like, let's say Skagit for Dirt Cup, go up in the grandstands.
Yeah. Maybe
then we could bring the camera. You know, maybe then we get some clips.
Certain situations.
Right. I think that would be cool, but no, this is going to allow us to do so much. And we don't necessarily have to have a requirement. We're not really going off of a script here. This is the most raw form of content that it gets for us.
Absolutely. And like we said, we're not going to completely 86 the guests. We're going to have guests here and there. And we actually have one that we're going to be doing a little bit later this week that I think we're both pretty pumped up that we've been trying to get on for a little bit. But this podcast is going to be a lot about, you know, kind of looking forward at 2022 and all it has in store. And I'm definitely, well, first off, I did have a question I was going to ask you.
Yeah.
I'm a big goal setter going into the new year. Like I know I probably shouldn't be this way, because I think if you want to accomplish something, you should be able to change your mindset and your, what's the word? Your habits at any moment. Yeah. But for me, like the new year is a big reset. I really like it. I feel like it's really easy I call it the fourth quarter of the year, you know, October, November, December, get a little bit lazy, but also in a way, like I think in a way we kind of deserve it. Like it's been a long year and you kind of take some of that time where maybe, especially like in racing, it's a lot slower. So you try to take advantage of that because most of the year is not like it, but you know, it's a reset. So do you like to set goals? Or are you more the type of guy that, you know, you just maybe want to head in a certain direction? Because like I said, like I got a whole list of goals and I got them everywhere, so I, you know, can focus on them.
Yeah, it's funny. I set goals. It may not be as, you know, yearly or like, you know, a certain time frame or anything, but like, do you want to hear some?
Let's see. I mean, if you got them.
So there's one goal I have in life, two bucket list goals. One is to fly in a fighter jet. I probably will never fly one myself, but I want to ride passenger. Like, I feel like that'd be one of the coolest experiences. Definitely top of the bucket list. And 2 is to own a Lamborghini Huracan. We saw one today in Jacksonville.
We did.
And it was beautiful. I love Lamborghini, my favorite car brand. Their cars are awesome. So that's my other goal. And then current goals this year, I think you'll share yours after this, maybe?
I absolutely can.
So current goals this year, it's kind of funny. There's this game I play on my phone, and I'm getting really good at it. Like, I play it a lot. It's called Arch Hero. It's like this stupid game where it's like all fantasy and you're shooting monsters and stuff. But, you know, I'm getting to the point where I could maybe contend to be top in the nation. I'm top 5,000 out of hundreds of thousands that play. So I put a lot of time into that. So that's just kind of funny and silly there. But another goal is just to race more with my program and take it to the next level, and not necessarily, you know, racing more, but I want to do more for the fans, you know, the community. I want to do more for my sponsors. I want to be able to, you know, do a lot more than what I've been doing, because, you know, we got all our stuff sent off, which we'll talk about a little bit later, I'm sure, in this one, about my race car. So, but yeah, I just want to race more and take life day by day this year.
I agree. I can actually relate a lot to what you said and for my program as well, and just what we're trying to do. You know, I actually really liked how you ended that with, you know, taking life day by day. And that's something I want to work on a little bit. Just like, you know, I have a lot of personal goals. You know, I think like it's really crazy, or it's really easy for, you to kind of get focused on looking so far ahead. So I try not to do that, like you said, take life day by day. But yeah, just really taking our program to the next level. We got some stuff that's going to be a little bit different, and we're just going to kind of transition into that. We're setting our schedule. We're getting the car designed. We're doing kind of the normal things you do early or, late in the year, then early into the next year. But yeah, I think this year is going to be a big one for our team and mainly trying to grow. I think last year we jumped in to play with the Wolves, and that's a hard thing to do. And it gives me a whole nother level of respect for everybody that was on our team and my family and what they did and how they, you as well, like staying by my side, through a really tough year and a lot of good competition. So I think this year we're going to try to set a schedule to, have a lot of races we can win and really try to grow and, just take that next step and race a lot in the Pacific Northwest, as well as try to go to the Midwest a little bit. And I just can't wait to be around a lot of the fans that we have here. And I think now as we're kind of transitioning out of the 2 years we had where, fans were at the races, and this year was better than the year before, but, we're kind of really back to normal. So, and be able to go wherever and not have to worry about that. And then I kind of talked about some of my social media goals, or I guess just I talked about that in another video for YouTube. And yeah, just talking about trying to not, grow, everyone wants to grow their community, but man, I really want to keep building the community we have and
the connection.
The connection, it's strengthening everything that, so many of you guys come back and listen to what we have to say or watch the videos. And man, that means more than, you guys will ever know. But, just trying to do more fun stuff to keep you guys engaged and build it to where, not just our connection together, but everyone else that is here. Because there's so many awesome people and we're all family because we love the sport of racing. So I think, 2022 has a ton in store.
I think if I look back at, being excited for a race season, I think in a whole, I am most excited for 2022 and what's to come because, watching your career progress, the possibilities and the ideas and, what you've got in store for this year that I know a little bit behind the scenes. And then for my career, and then also look at the sport of auto racing. I mean, Outlaw karts are growing. Yeah. They're at the best they've ever been. NASCAR's going to next gen. In everything. I think even our social media platforms and us growing, I'm so excited for 2022.
Yeah, I would have to agree on every single level you said there. I kind of feel the same way, even though, I felt like last year we necessarily maybe didn't get like, it sound like the typical driver post. Like we didn't get the results we wanted, but that happens. And I think like, I wouldn't say it was an off year really. It was a learning year, but how much you can learn from that. And then, as you said, like going forward, we have such a big season ahead of us. And I feel like myself, especially in my Outlaw kart, even though I know I've been racing that my whole life. So, I know some people are going to maybe say like you expect someone to be good with as many laps. And I absolutely feel the same way, but I feel really good behind the wheel in that thing. Whether it's Roseburg or Red Bluff or any of the couple other tracks we've ran, but I feel on a whole nother level in that. So I feel like that's going to be a little, even a confidence booster into the sprint car. Cause I think no matter what you race, if you can put together good results in the seat, that can transition over, many different ways. And kind of talking a little bit about the Outlaw kart, we wanted to cover some of the races we missed in between the last episode we shot and kind of moving into this new year because we ran Roseburg a little bit, which is a track that's about an hour and a half north of the shop. We'll be there this weekend for a big winter showdown race is what it's called. But there was a big weekend that actually happened where a little surprising. So last time we shot, I came down to California with another friend of mine, Kyler Shaw, and Bennett and I, we did that shoot at the rodeo place. What was that?
The Reading Rodeo.
With Eric Gannon.
Yeah, we shot Eric's episode there.
Yeah, we shot that there. Well, on that trip, I actually was mainly going to California to purchase my new Outlaw kart that I just bought. I had sold my car previously, which it was a good car, but I mean, it was, it had some miles on it.
It did. But you know what? That's the strength of QRC right there. It held up.
It did. It held up for a while, and I just felt like I wasn't going to be able to contend with the people that I needed to contend with. And I will proudly say, I don't know if I said it necessarily straight up in the video, but I purchased my new Outlaw kart myself, which I was proud about. I'd worked hard. And anyway, so I bought that car. It was an ex-QRC house cart. It was all the components and stuff on it weren't like they had some races, and then it had a brand new frame because I think it was Kennedy's. It was either Kennedy's or Landon's before. So anyway, I purchased that from QRC, and right out of the gate, we were fast. Thanksgiving weekend, we won the first night. Track was pretty rough, but we won, pulled away. And just, we did everything we would do at Red Bluff. And then kind of going into the second night, I knew that the main guy to beat was going to be Jesse Caldwell. And that's someone we've talked about on the podcast before. Unbelievable talent. And there was a lot of cars. Second night, we ran good in our heats, ended up being on the front row with Jesse. And that was actually one of the more exciting nights, I feel like, of the years. Great feature. We ran many different lines. He went to the bottom, went to the top. I was switching. We were back and forth. I led early. He got the lead. And then eventually, with 8 laps to go, I was able to just get a really good restart and time it perfectly. And I was able to drive away for the win. And then that was 2 nights in with that new car, and we were able to win both of them.
Yeah. One thing that's going to be different here coming up is Roseburg. You've been committed to, I think, the past maybe 2 years running a 4-stroke there.
Yeah.
And so now this upcoming weekend, you're going to go back to the 2-stroke, the house cart.
Yeah. Jimmy's coming up with the QRC carts for this weekend, which, you talked about the sport growing, and I really like to talk about Roseburg. Like I mentioned, that Thanksgiving weekend, we had 33 opens, and, Roseburg's been a place where
they have their locals, just like Red Bluff,
yes.
where they have their same guys that will show up every weekend.
Yeah, they have guys that run there a lot, and one thing I'm most excited about in the sport is Oregon Outlaw car racing. I want to see good racing close to home. I think there's a lot of value in obviously being able to only travel very close and be able to go race at a good track. And we've always had to travel down south to Red Bluff. But Roseburg is really starting to, I feel like, get in their own and develop a great car count weekly, no matter what. Pay's starting to go up. They're paying a little bit more. They're having some bigger shows. I think this weekend is $12.50 to win Sunday, which is a solid payday for whoever is able to bring that home. Hopefully it's us. But yeah, I mean, you've seen it as you were up there with me last year. I think that night we were there was over 30 opens.
Right.
I mean, and it's a solid racetrack. It's pretty smooth. It's got great people running it, and they're trying to grow the sport, and they are doing it with open ears, which I think is very, very key because they're willing to listen to ideas and evolve, depending on what the racers need and want.
Yeah, I also want to mention on the topic of Oregon Outlaw Kart Racing there, did you see that Southern Oregon Speedway is guaranteed to pay?
I saw something like that. I saw.
And I think that's really cool, but I think that is the main event only.
Probably,
Maybe not through the B main. But what I also want to mention there is back in the day, there used to be what was the challenge? The Outlaw Kart Challenge.
Oh,
went to
QRC All-Star Tour. Is that
right? Yep. And I know a lot of our friends and stuff, we always kick it around. We want that to come back.
Yeah.
And, it's so cool to see, you always travel down south. Red Bluff and Cycling are the key places for racing. I feel like Oregon putting maybe Roseburg back in there easily top 3 on the west coast of tracks. If we can get these guys coming back and forth and almost turn it into a like 2 or 3 track series for a couple guys, so you could run your individual points at each track.
Yeah.
But I think if we could coordinate with some of these tracks, we could have almost a 2 or 3 track series throughout the year where, Red Bluff and Oregon, Roseburg, are both winter shows. And so, or winter tracks, I should say. And so I feel like you could put together a points series between both of them. And I think that would be sick because we don't have that. And what we did have back in the day is gone now. So hopefully that could come back too.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of potential. Another props to Roseburg. You mentioned like possibly getting guys to race in between. Roseburg only scheduled, and it's just because, so what they did is they put out their schedule and they race every weekend. Red Bluff's not racing. There's only 2 that conflict. I think Roseburg's a 14 race schedule and Red Bluff's 13 or 12 or something.
12 this year, I think, and then 13 for nationals.
Yeah. But how they do their points is they have 2 drop shows. So you can run both places for points if you're interested. Right. And I thought that was super neat because I mean,
Could you imagine Red Bluff with drop shows?
That might be really interesting. I don't know how that would work. But I just thought it was cool how you could run, both tracks. I thought that was something, if I was able to, obviously the winter is when we're trying to race a little bit less, but I do think it would be fun, maybe just run for points at both. I don't know if I actually ever will, but that was just something cool that they're doing. And then I feel like because of all the stuff that they've been building up over the last couple of years, I mean, they're seeing returns. I know opens last week was 20 opens, which that was considered a low night. The week before was 26.
Right. And I know the big shows, maybe last year, not last year, maybe the year before. So 18, 19 area, not 20, because there's COVID. But
Yeah.
The big shows are when the car count was there. And also, I want to give a props to the Oregon drivers. A lot of them come down to Red Bluff, you included.
Absolutely.
Like the Oregon guys want to race, and they come down. And that's why I'm excited to see so many Cali guys, our friends, going up to race this weekend. I think that's awesome. I think there needs to be more traveling. You know, it all just depends per team, but it's cool to see.
Yeah, I think they're expecting about 40 this weekend, possibly.
Which is huge.
That's huge.
Roseburg.
Yeah, and it's usually because not as many guys travel, I feel like, from California up as maybe they should, but it is. There's a lot of factors. I mean, you've done the drive a lot. I've done the drive a lot. It's not that great.
Winter's a huge effect.
Winter's hard
going
with
over
snow.
the pass. I mean, you guys, I think that's a quick little story you should tell. Coming home from Red Bluff that night.
Oh, shoot.
You
Yeah,
guys
I
were
snapped
in
you.
literally a blizzard.
Yeah.
Was that with the trailer? Just the truck.
I think it was just the truck. Yeah. So that was after points race number 6, which I have that noted. So, well, let me fast forward. The week before, so we go back to Red Bluff after that really good Thanksgiving weekend we had. I'm confident as can be, and we had the most disastrous night possible. Like, qualified horrible heat race. Side panel flies off in the B main. Oh, actually C main. I barely get through the C main. Side panel flies off in the B. We have some controversy after the B. Like, all sorts of stuff goes down.
Yep.
Just little things or whatever, but don't make the show that night. Then the next week, after the car didn't feel good, and I thought maybe it was a little bit, I think it was a little bit of me for sure. I just didn't have a good weekend, but our package just was off, and things weren't clicking, and that happens. Then the next weekend we come back, and it's like last weekend it's like the weekend before it didn't even happen.
Right.
Fast out of the gate, get through the heat race, start on the front row of the feature, and had the fastest lap time of the feature, lead most of the laps, small battle with my teammate Landon Brooks, and come home with our second win of the season. Phenomenal night. One of those nights when you're like, man, you just want to hang out, but there was no hanging out to do because we had to get home. Otherwise, we weren't going to get home. So Red Bluff's in Northern California, and in between Red Bluff and my house is probably 2 areas that can be difficult when it starts to snow. The one that's close to my house is right the mountains. It's the Siskiyous Mountain Range, which I think at the top is like where the freeway is almost 5,000 feet. So it's up there, maybe 4,000. And then the other area is through the Dunsmuir.
Yeah. You get in Dunsmuir right below Mount Shasta, and it's like a slot of snow where it just packs in there.
It gets bad. It gets really bad. So we're driving home, and all this, and like I said, we weren't even sure if we were going to make it. At this point, Dunsmuir is about 45 minutes to an hour north, as you start going up the freeway. And we're starting to get up there, in the higher elevations, and it is just snowing like you cannot believe. The whole road's covered. You can barely see out the windshield. The car, there wasn't any cars really on the road, and there was no snowplows yet either. So it was like kind of in the middle. And I'm sending these videos to Bennett. I'm like, man, we haven't really seen anybody wrecked yet, but it's just because no one's up. Like, no one's trying to get home, like us.
So big props to John there.
Yeah, John did a good job, my dad. So we kind of keep cruising, and it's getting worse and worse. And then eventually, once we got a little bit farther, you get to Weed, California, which is about the middle point. And it wasn't snowing as bad, so we got a portion where, it wasn't...
Weed to Yreka flattens off. It's like high desert.
Yeah, it wasn't horrible. And then we get to the Siskiyous, and oh my gosh, we're doing, 15 miles an hour, no chains, 4-wheel drive. And just how my dad got home, I have no idea. And there wasn't many cars on the road, so that made it easier. You're driving, it's so bad, you're driving not in a lane, you're just driving in the middle of the road. That's my dad.
That's pretty funny because another friend of ours, Brian Huber, if you know Brian, he's crazy, was driving a Subaru in the same storm but going down the hill.
Yeah, he was coming from Roseburg.
And I think he put the left side in the guardrail. I think he put the left side of the Subaru in the guardrail, so that's pretty funny right there. But glad you guys made it. And I think that is one of the things that bounds drivers from traveling as much as the snow. So, once the year turns over, January, the snow's going to start thinning out a little bit. And that's why we're going to see a pretty good car count this weekend.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, this weekend, and then kind of moving forward once we, get back to Red Bluff, that's when things kind of get, start to really increase by a lot. One other race I wanted to talk about where we kind of ended the year with some excitement was the last race at Red Bluff before the break. We had a pretty intense battle with my teammate Landon Brooks, and that was something I was actually kind of looking forward to talking about on the podcast because just go a little bit more in depth about what happened. I mean, it was overall just a good race. We never touched or whatever, but started out the A main event in 4th, and that was the Gary Jacobs Memorial. So $1,500 to win. I guess a little extra prestige. We had won the Tyler Wolf earlier in the year, so that was like one of those races that is just a little bit tough or a little bit tougher. And I had so many questions on that video, and that's why I was so excited to talk about it. Racing with your teammate, that's something that's different. Most guys in dirt racing, you don't have teammates.
Right.
And this is just a little bit more of a unique situation with the factory QRC guys, how we do have 2 cars. I've drove for them when I was the only car, and I've drove for them when there was 3 of us. So, I mean, I've kind of seen, when it's at all different parts of the program. But Landon and I, we have a lot of respect for each other. Landon and I are friends. It's we talk all the time at the races and whatnot. And that is just something that was different. I think when you racing up front like that, you actually want to be racing against your teammate because you hope that you're not going to wreck each other, which is not a rare thing to happen. It can happen.
Is there any instructions from the boss there, Jimmy?
There isn't. No, I mean there isn't anything besides like just don't crash. Just run 1-2.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of why I think I saw some comments on the video with Tanner, you should have been more aggressive. You should have been this. And so what I wanted to say on the show was man, there's so much going through my head because I got to be careful as much as Landon I think is kind of thinking the same thing. We don't want to wreck each other because there was one previous situation, not between me and Landon, but between me and another driver a couple years back when we wrecked going for the win in the red cars. So that was 2 or 3 years ago with another house driver. But Landon and I have raced together the last couple of years. We haven't had a single incident, but we've always ran each other hard and with respect. But for all the people that were kind of asking, you have to really toe the line. And I think it actually worked out where I was really good on the bottom and he was really good on the top, so we could kind of both run our line. And just ultimately put on a good show that came down to the last corner. But you got to think in that race, I am thinking man, I don't want to, last thing I want to do is, ever put Jimmy in a spot where, I hope that he picked me for a situation like this to where I can fulfill, what he's hoping for, which ended up being us to come home 1-2. And it sucks being the guy that's second, but ultimately, that was a really good night for the team, for us to have that much speed, especially after that one rough week for us to bounce back. And then I go in victory lane, and then, the 60L's in victory lane the weekend after.
I got a question about the teammate thing there. Do you ever feel like the other driver to a T since he's your teammate?
I think so.
Because, you go out there, you can only guess what every other person's setup is. And I don't know if your teammate's setup or not. I feel like it's fairly similar.
They're very similar,
because it's Jimmy who sets them both up.
Yep.
Do you go into it knowing the setup that you can race him a certain way?
Yeah, I mean, I would say in a way, I feel like I guess you could say both Landon and I know each other probably a little bit to a deeper extent than maybe the other drivers.
Right.
Besides the knowledge you have from just racing against people, because we do get to we'll talk after heat races on what we're both struggling with, what's good, what's working. And I feel like especially since we're obviously out of the same trailer all season long, I've heard his struggles. I've had the same struggles. I've had strengths where his are weaknesses and vice versa. He's been strong in areas where I feel like my stuff's weak. And so it definitely actually adds a really interesting element. I didn't even necessarily think about that, but I think just in your head, that's how it works. And I talked the same thing kind of about Carly. I think when we had her on the podcast way back when, I feel like I know her the best, or how I can race her because of,
That's my next question.
Yeah.
What's harder to race, a sibling or a teammate?
Oh, shoot. I would say it's harder to race Carly for sure, just a sibling, because, I mean...
You got to go home to it.
No matter what, we're still going to be siblings. If, if something were to happen, you're not, me and Landon, over the next 10 years of outlaw kart racing, we probably won't always be teammates, you know what I mean?
Right.
But like I said, both so much respect for, and I think after Carly and I's incident, that I don't think that will happen again, hopefully. I hope not. But no, like I said, Landon and I race really good together. And, we're going to continue to just, I think, kind of how that goes is we just race as hard as we possibly can, and just have that little extra line of respect of hey, we both need to finish the race. And it's going to kind of continue to be that way, especially since, we're both racing for points as we have the last couple of seasons. And there's quite a few other guys in the mix, and Red Bluff too. It just has a unique way of, usually the guys you need to race against, they'll throw you in the same heat races or the same B mains or whatever.
I swear, so many times that I've always seen is the house carts are in the same heat.
Yeah, it happens a lot. The orange cars
it's always 3 and 4. So it's like you both got to go forward.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. So, but that was a fun race. I think Chase Rodman, the announcer, called it the race of the season. So I was proud to kind of be a part of, what a good, clean show can be. And that was a good way to kind of end our Red Bluff Outlaws season. After that, our
2021, not the season.
Oh yeah, sorry, my bad. There, you're correct. And then we had a couple weeks off. Carly ran a race in Roseburg to start the year. I was not able to attend that. And then the following weekend, which would be our last race to date from when this is uploaded, was my first race of 2022, and we were able to sweep the night at the Roseburg Indoor. So I guess you can say I'm feeling pretty good going into this weekend, even though I'm in a different car than I usually run at Roseburg. But it's all the same.
I'm sure Jimmy will have it tuned up, and I think this is something cool to note too. For a lot of people that aren't up to date or whatever on the West Coast, so there's a tire rule that's in place because of shortages and whatnot. But this will be the first time that you've raced where I think a 50 is mandatory.
Yeah.
Because Cyclan, everyone runs the same compound there. It just gets so hard.
Do you
want to
explain just a little bit of different compounds to them?
Yeah, so like 11 is going to be your softest compound right there. You're going to have a 22, which is right in between, a soft 11 or a harder 33. You're generally going to run a 33 on the left rear on an open. And if you're going to run anything harder than an 11, it's most likely going to be 50. That's what we've seen at Red Bluff. Other tracks, like I said, you're automatically to a 50 at Cyclan, gets harder abrasive. Every track's different, just depends on the surface. But, it goes 11, 22, 33, and a 50. But there's stuff you can do to harden and soften them, whether or not that's legal at their tracks. But Roseburg's one of those places I think is...
So with the new tire rule, you're not allowed to soak or do anything.
Gotcha.
The tire has the durometer at a 50, which means is what
is cool.
What you purchase it at.
I like that because what they're trying to do here is, keep your tires on your car, not burn off an 11 if it goes slick or something like that. But it's also going to put, more of the car in the hands of the driver because I think you can comment on this as well. A hard compound on a hooked up track, you don't know too much about it, I guess, other than Cyclan. But a tight little bull ring like this, what are your thoughts going into it?
Yeah, I don't really know. I think it's gonna be a game of who can figure it out within the 2 nights, and I think that's gonna be the guys up front. I personally, at first, I won't lie, I was disappointed with their ruling of going to a harder compound on the right rear, or having to run 50, the hardest compound, because at Roseburg all year, I wouldn't say we've been testing for this race, but, when you run races, you're building a notebook, and you're hoping to shine on the 2 big races Roseburg had, which we shined at the Turkey Shootout, and then, obviously the Winter Showdown is a race I've already won twice. I would like to make that a third time. Now you go, every race you go to, you want to win. But yeah, so now we kind of have a curveball going into it, and pretty much to describe what a 50 does on the right rear, in my opinion, is it just takes away a lot of grip, and a lot of rear grip, and a lot of side bite, and just about everything you want your car to do, it makes it not do. So I think, this weekend we're going to see slower lap times when the track's hooked up. I think we're going to see possibly, the more I think about it, maybe better racing because Roseburg's a fast track. So if it slows it down a little bit, maybe it would make it to where you can, race a little bit better.
I haven't been there when this happened, but did it rubber up last time?
It hasn't rubbered up besides, I think, once this season.
Pretty abrasive. At one race, I know it got abrasive one race. So if it doesn't do that and it gets slick and you got a 50 and you're barely getting heat in it, like you said, it's good racing.
Yeah, because the whole point of a 50 is that once it gets hot, from a lot of wheel spin, then it's going to get good. But when a track's wet and it doesn't have the surface to create that heat, then it's never going to come in. So that's where, we're going to have to do different things with the car, and I might even have to change my driving a little bit just to adjust to what I need to do to be fast. So I'm not really sure. I think it's going to be a huge question mark going into the weekend. In all reality, because of the tire shortage, it's probably the right call. From what I heard, because the guys in Oregon can't get the tires they need to have an open tire rule, but some of the guys in California can. So by making the rule, it puts everyone on an even playing field. Then the guys from California that are coming up don't have the fresh rubber or can't take advantage of the fresh rubber, if that makes sense. And if some of you guys are wondering why is there even a tire shortage, well, that's an obvious answer. But in general, even before everything that we've experienced over the last 2 years, Burris, just there's a huge demand of tires, and sometimes just because of how life works, they're not always able to keep up. So
regardless, I think you can agree with me 100%. Jimbo's gonna have it set up.
Oh, we're gonna be good.
Prime.
We're gonna be good.
Jimbo's gonna have it set up. But I think that's gonna be good. Landon's gonna be racing up there for the first time.
Yeah, Landon. Yeah, Landon. First time I think up there in an open. I think he ran there way back in the day in our box stock days. But like I said, I'm happy for Roseburg. I can't wait to see the good car count. I think one thing that's always been interesting about the place is that there's good competition and there's some good cars, but I think we haven't really got the chance to maybe see a really, really, really stacked field, you could say. And when I say stacked, I'm saying like you look at the A and you're like, all right, we got 14 really good guys. Usually there's, maybe 6 to 8 really fast cars and then the rest kind of fill in. And that just usually creates for a lot of yellows. And we just never get the chance to have a race where, maybe potential for lap traffic. You get into lap traffic so fast there. So that's what I like about it. I think it could, add a lot of different aspects and really show how good of a track it is based off of, some of the cars that we could have there this weekend. So it's definitely going to be really, really interesting. Other than that, we have a couple more races at Roseburg to finish off the winter season there. And then we're back at Red Bluff for 4 or 5 weeks. With the 2-day show, we have West Coast Nationals, and then we're going to be really kind of right into the summer season.
If you want to, a quick mention here, if you want to watch all this weekend, Fast 4 Media, Kyler Shaw, good friend, Fast 4 Media is going to be all live on it. So go head over there, buy your, is it a platinum membership?
Yeah, it's platinum membership, $30 a month.
Yep.
Kyler's not only like literally one of our best friends, but he even, is a partner, sponsor on my sprint car. He's one of those guys, you need something, he has your back. And he is one of the big reasons Outlaw Karts, I feel like, are where they are today because of, all the coverage he's brought to the sport. So yeah, definitely don't be afraid to go over there, spend some money, and you get to watch a lot of really, really good action in return. I guess kind of looking forward as we're getting a little bit closer to the end of this episode, we talked a little bit briefly about plans, but I mean, you said your goals, as far as your dwarf car this year and whatnot, what are you thinking, is kind of in the mix?
So I never got to fully tell what happened, but we threw rod in piston 2, we threw the rod in the motor. So that's what put the holes in the case. We're going to get the case fixed up. We just ordered up the parts and sent the crank off to be rebuilt, and I think that's going to be the hiccup. I was told maybe 6 to 8 weeks, somewhere 4 to 8 weeks. That's all I know. So that's obviously a long time, but the season doesn't really start until about 2-ish months. I would love to run Silver Cup, but I have to go check Chico's new schedule because, the new promoters, I don't know if dwarf cars are on that race anymore or where they will be, but I just want to run. I know for sure I want to run the pocket change race up at Willamette for 2000.
Quickly touch on how they get the money for that race.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So the dwarf cars don't have like huge paying shows very often, but throughout the year you can go to shows that are, if you run the national series, Colorado, I think maybe put together a 5,000 to win show, which is huge. Down in Texas, they have a big race down there that pays out. But the pocket change race is something the Northwest Club puts together, and they collect literally change throughout the whole year.
That's so sick.
And October 1st, you win all the money in change. Like, it doesn't come out in bills. They give you tubs of change. And I know we got the chance to watch it in 2018.
Yeah, I was at Grace Harbor.
Grace Harbor. We watched a pocket change race the last day or the last race of Speed Week. And it was literally buckets of change. So I think it'll be cool. But that's on my list. I want to run that. I want to run all of Speed Week this year, not blow up on day number 1. But and I think, maybe we got to make that driver swap happen.
We are, yeah. We want to do that. I don't whether that's Southern Oregon or definitely not the backyard track, I guess, now I think about it. But we did say dwarf car backyard track. We got some cool ideas.
I'll turn a lap there. I got to get a little better first.
I think it'll be good. Maybe we just maybe what I'll do is I need to bring a little dirt in to get some bank in. Maybe you can hold it wide.
If it's any slimy like when Kyler was on it with his truck and me in the Mustang, I'm definitely hitting the wall in turn 3.
Might plow tight on corner entry. No, that's phenomenal. I'm looking forward to seeing that. And just I know as more kind of the dwarf car schedules are starting to come out and they're kind of seeing all the races you can run and seeing that class grow as well. I haven't been involved with it like I talk about the karts, but just when you do kind of step back from a distance and hearing a lot from you, like it's cool to see how many of those cars there are, and some cool people in place that are really trying to do some money shows and do some unique things, and having them a part of Speed Week is a big deal.
It's just like Outlaw Carts. I mean, the dwarf car community, I don't know how too involved you are with it, but it's growing huge. Like when you're looking at 127 cars at a national race, like that's a lot of race cars. Like that's almost Chili Bowl. Like that's a third of Chili Bowl. So like that's crazy to think that they're growing so much, and I like it. I think it's cool to see.
That's sweet. So just to briefly touch on my plans. I mean, this is just to touch the surface, I guess you could say. But I talked about racing a lot in the Northwest. I think we're gonna try to stick close to home this year, a little bit more than we have in the past. And a lot of that is just because there's so many races you can run. I mean, it's crazy with Dirt Cup this year being $50,000 to win. 410s again. The Road to Dirt Cup races you can run. So you can run 410 races leading up to it, which is another 3 or 4 shows that we wouldn't have the opportunity to have at places like Cottage Grove and Silver Dollar. And then a couple weeks before that, they have what they're calling the fastest 4 days in motorsports, which is 4 nights of 410 racing on Memorial Day weekend. And one of those is at the Southern Oregon Speedway. Like the first time in 7 or 8 years, 410s have been at my local track, which usually races limited sprints. So, I mean, to people that get to see 410s all the time, doesn't sound like a big deal. To us guys that I've only seen one 410 race in person at my home track, it's a huge deal. So I'm smiling ear to ear just talking about it. So
I was going to say, not to interrupt you, but I think we're looking at possibly a perfect storm. If they can get the track right there, this is the first time that it's going to be a new track for 410s.
Oh yeah,
because they rebuilt it. It's way wider, way more
better. Yeah,
I think this could be a really cool race to watch.
I think there's going to be a lot of good competition as well. A lot of guys from California. So there's just so much potential between, like, you start adding, like I said, Dirt Cup. We'll have the fastest 4 days in motorsports. We'll have all the races on the Road to Dirt Cup. We're going to have Peter Murphy Classic. We're going to have our California stuff to start the year. Some Tulare, Hanford, Ocean races. Then I think we're definitely, I can't confirm, but the goal is to go back to Knoxville and be there for all of it. 360 Nationals, 410 Nationals. We're going to have the Outlaw Swing at the end of the year where they come through Washington and California. And so Trophy Cup, I mean, start adding stuff up. I mean, there's a lot of big shows as well as a lot of other places and tracks that I don't want to say yet, just because I hate to say that we're going somewhere and we don't end up, because things change like that, with weather and just, plans, everything changes.
Life.
But a lot of tracks that I feel like, a lot of places I've been to before that I haven't got to go back to in the last 365 days that we're hoping to get back to. So it's going to be awesome. We're looking forward to it. But before we do that, we will have to finish up Red Bluff, which we're looking to chase a championship and have a couple more races there, as well as what we have at Roseburg. But I feel like that's kind of a good jump back into podcast. What, you have anything else you want to add?
Not much. I mean, I love it. I think this is going to be awesome. We're going to be able to put content out way more on the podcast channel, and I think it's going to be more raw like this, which is the first time. I'm literally sitting on a couch right now, and my voice is kind of going out, so sorry about that. But, this is the most relaxed, coolest version that I've ever made of a podcast, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's going to be a great year. We've been talking about it. I think that kind of wraps up episode 27. We called it the new look of Off the Track, the new route that we're going to go. Let us know what you guys think, and make sure to keep tuning in every single Wednesday for a new podcast as we move forward into the year. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, you are watching Off the Track, and it is time to drop the hammer.